I will give like a global definition about what is a design system. So a design system is like a collection of reusable components who have like guidelines decided with the product team and also like with the design team, and you use it to build like interfaces. So here I got like a quote of Nathan Curtis who explained like a design system is like a living funded product with like completely roadmap and backlog serving an ecosystem. At the end, like the ecosystem is your product, and you need to see like the design system as like a product. As you every time you will add like new feature to your product, you will need to add like maybe new components to your design system, and maybe like new states to existing components. So this is why you need to see it like as a product, because in general it's like on the side of the main product of your company, and you need also like to give time to develop it and to iterate on it to have like a cool platform and like a useful component. So I will deep dive into the notion of atomic design, explaining like the different entities that you can find. The first one is like the atoms. It's like mainly HTML tags, could be like label, input, button, and like when you are creating like an atom to your design system, you need to understand that it's mainly like the smaller units that you can create, and it could be divided into like smaller parts. So this is like example of atoms. You have like a button, input, colors. If you add like class or not, it's like at the end, we don't care. The main things to understand, it's like it couldn't live. It could live without nothing around. So I will deep dive now into the notion of molecules. Like, as you know, molecule is like a combination of atoms, putting together to create like a more complex entity with like a more complex usage. As you can see here, it's like a tab. It's like a combination of multiple buttons to create a type component. What you need here is like when you are like creating atoms, you reuse like existing components to iterate on your design system, and not to like copy paste code to avoid errors and usage. So after like atoms, molecules, you have like organism. It's like a combination of molecules putting together to create more complex block, like a navigation bar, a search component, or something like that. So this is like a nav bar. As you can see, there is like a logo. It's like an asset, okay? But you can find like a button. You can also find like another button, but as an icon this time, or also like a drop-down component. And this all together is considered in the atomic design rules as like an organism. And after, with this organism, you can create pages, you can create templates, and you can iterate and take this component and to make like a puzzle to create like complex pages. So why using a design system? The main utilities is to create easier and like faster pages, create an harmony with the different teams, the product team, the design team, and like to follow guidelines of the different team working with you, but also to create consistency in UI, and also reduce the cost of the errors and like sometimes useless discussion when you are like speaking about like which color needs to be the border. It means like you fail in the creation of your design system. It also improves the structure of the page, so that it's like create more consistency between like all the views in your app. So like one of my tips like for better collaboration and to create like a useful design system, it's every time like challenging when you begin to have like a stable design system. The main thing is every time challenging like the needs of the designer and the product, and to check if you can't like reuse an existing component to make the job, like and to iterate with the product and to check if like you just simple use it and not to create like another component in your design system. What I'd advise in general is like to take a look of existing design system before beginning yours. And also document guidelines and how to use components in a page. I love to give like the example of like Microsoft. Microsoft, they have like guideline how to use a button with a drop down, how to use a button in your page. It's not common like in small structure, but in general, what you want to do is to follow the requirements like of your design team, and it's important because at the end, if it's not match what the designer and the product wants, it will not be in production. And also something that I love, and like a lot of companies did it like since a long time, it's like export this design system as a private package on NPM and to use it in all your products. The main thing is like you will get like the same UI on your product, but if your design system is like flexible, you can play with it and like try and success to make like different interfaces. So now I will jump like about another subject, but it's like relative to the first one. It's the UI Builder Explorer, named also as Storybook and Histoire. I don't know if like you are everybody is using Storybook or like something common in. Okay, so I will make like a quick intro. Storybook, Histoire, it's like open source tool for building UI components and pages in isolation, and like to also like provide unit testing to your component and documentation for all the team in your company. So how it works, the usage schema, it's like you have like a design system or component library. You have your app on the left, it's like consume components, but on the right, it's like Storybook or Histoire, and you build like indexes, components, you expose like all your components to the product and the design team. I will show you after how it works, but it's like you need to see it like as a documentation. It's like when you are like going to use like a library like Element UI, for example, in Vue. It's like at the end, it's like a design system, and the documentation could be seen like as Storybook or Histoire. So why you need a UI Explorer? So first of all, it's not so hard to set up on an existing project. Mainly it depends of which one you are using. If it's Storybook, it's like I will explain maybe a bit more later, but like it could be more harder to set up than Histoire. Yeah, it's depend also of like your builder, if you like use Vite or Webpack or Rollup or stuff like that. It permits also like to create components in an isolated environment. When I say isolated environment, it's to avoid like putting too much business logic in your component, and like to have like a component more oriented like business logic than to have like a component who are supposed to do what it is supposed to do. And also to test like edge cases of your component, because it's super easy to import like mock data. And as I say, like to expose your design system across team, design, project, and what is the most important, and that's why it's in bold right now, it's permits you to add like tooling, and the most for me important tooling that you can have like when you are working in front-end environments is to use like visual regression, Percy, and also like accessibility. Maya, she made a talk on it at Vue.js Amsterdam, and story source also. So Percy, like it's just to let you know, it's like a tool who permit to create like every time you are building your project, you are like generating snapshots, and this snapshot is used like to know if you have like a visual regression or not on your project. So when you are like updating a lot of components sometimes to create like a new feature, you need like a new way of using of your components. Sometimes it's useful to know if you break or not all your application. So Storybook with Vue, my personal experience. Low supports and updates by the team. They are mainly focused on React. Sometimes it's painful to see your component like in a grid system, like a mobile or large screen. Even like to check when you can't like display your story, it's really hard to understand like errors. Nothing is written in the console, everything is cached. It's like messy, but what I understand it's like they just keep the one of React and make like a few adaptations. For example, the last version of Storybook doesn't work with Vue 3. They break like all the build of a lot of people who make like the last update on the Storybook. But there is like a many integration available as add-ons, as I say, like Percy, accessibility to check if your component is accessible or not. It's like a great tool, but I think they are more focused to develop it for React than Vue. So I will make a quick demo. Okay, and also maybe I will show you this. So, okay. Fine. Okay, perfect. So what I want to see here, so it's like a typical modal in Vue.js. You can pass like an header as a slot, a content as a slot, a footer as a slot, and you can like, so this is like a story and how to define it. So what you need to do is to import your component. I put like a global CSS here. It's not the way to do. It's better to put it like when you are building a Storybook, because to avoid it, like to copy paste it in all your story files. So you need to define like a title, which component is it, and an arc type. I will show you after what is arc type. Like you need to define like an header, a content, show modal, because it's like the props used in the application and also the slot defined. So after you need to define like a template or whatever you want. Defining 3 keys. The first one is like the props of your component. The second one is your components, and the third one is the template. The template is just you initiate it and putting like the props that you need to check like if your component is working. So yeah, sorry. Good. So after what you did is to bind like the story to the context of a storybook and to define like your art. So this is the model I created, and as you can see, I have like so this is like the model. This is the documentation of the model with all the names, the props, like the events, and also the slots defined to the components. And what is like, it's cool. It's like you can directly like interact, have interaction with the components that you just created. So you can define to show or to not show the model. You can like update the content, the title of your component. You can also like trigger like events and like define what you want. It's like the main usage is to check how it looks like and if it's work or not. So yeah. So this is a storybook and how to expose like a component to your team, like the product or design team. Good. Okay. So we'll continue. I want to show you like Histoire. There is people who know like what is Histoire or not. No? Maybe it's too recent. Yeah.
Saw some videos about it.
Okay. So I saw Histoire like maybe 4 months ago at the Vue.js Amsterdam. It was like presented by Acrium, like one of the core Vue maintainers. So it's created by the Vue core team. It's native to Vite project if your builder is already Vite. It's like you can make responsive testing if you want, what is hard to do with Storybook. And I find it's like personal things. I feel like it's easier to write story, and also like all the add-ons that the main important add-on are easy to plug to Histoire. And you can also like create like custom controls on your component that you saw like on Storybook. So I will show you how it looks like. Okay. So this is my components. Okay. Yeah, I will. We don't care about this. We don't. It's like a basic button. It's like you pass props and it changes color. so what I want to show you, it's like so Histoire. This is like it looks like the same as Storybook, but its name is Histoire, and it's like I find it like easier to use when you are like developing in Vue 2 or Vue 3. So I created like a base button, which is like a button. You can pass a color and a count and a default slot to your button. So it's like this is like the controller of your component. You can like update it and see how it will be updated in real time. What I say that it's like sometimes, for example, for wrapping text in table components, it's hard to test like for the product team and like the design team. So you just need to go into this interface, check the table component, put in a lot of text, and check how it's wrapped at the end for the end user. And also, what is super cool, it's like if you are using Tailwind, the designer team can have access to all the existing like alternatives for every CSS style. So like if you can see like all the text color already defined by Tailwind. And it's part also of the design system. So if you are using it and after you are like adding new components to this, in general, like your design and product team have like a global view of how interact and how like to test your components. So it's finished. I just like want to thank Maya and Dima for the invitation. And if you have any question, feel free to ask.
תודה רבה על הכיף. If I'm not mistaken, Histoire, I think it doesn't support YouTube. Am I right?
I think you are right. It doesn't support YouTube.
This is the reason I didn't test it.
Yeah. But I think it's like you will make something to make it compatible with Vue 2. I think if I didn't say a mistake. But now they are supporting Svelte, and he wants it to port it like on also React. So yeah. But I think for Vue 2 we will find a way to make it work with this version of the framework. Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
So this is basically the successor of Storybook specifically for Vue. That's the idea of acronym.
This is the idea of acronym. Yeah. And I found it like, again, it's like a personal choice. I found it like really easier to use in day to day. I get like a lot of pain. Like in my previous company, we use like GraphQL to make query, and I wanted to mock like the GraphQL answer, like response. It was the pain. Really to use like Storybook with all the documentation, which is not a documentation. It was a bit hard to use it with Vue 2 and Vue 3, but it's my opinion, and maybe people in this.
But I assume it's not well baked yet. Like because Storybook is pretty common in the
Yeah, of
field,
course. Yeah.
and you have plugins and you have
Yeah.
adaptation and blah 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 and so on and so forth. So this new tool is, I assume, like because it's new,
Yeah.
it will introduce at least for now, at least for some kind of period, more complexities for bigger projects, for big scale
Of course,
apps.
yeah. But I think if you take it like at the beginning of your project, for example, at Nilos, I'm building like the project in Node 3, which like
Yeah.
not in production yet, it's not a stable version. And I took also Histoire. I have like maybe already like 50 components or like 40 components,
Cool.
and I didn't get any trouble on like to mock data, like to use it to define like all the state of the component and stuff like that. It was working well.
So it's more flexible, basically.
It's more flexible, but I think it's like more flexible if you are beginning with this, with this, and you have like all the tooling around to make it work with it. If you are plugging like on a super old project with like Webpack 2 or something like that, maybe it will not work, and I'm pretty sure it will not work.
And I have maybe one addition, maybe to connect to the previous stuff, specifically tools like Histoire or maybe Storybook. There are a very interesting addition for companies that are doing migration.
Yeah.
Because you can migrate your components, specifically, let's say you're migrating just the pattern, and you can see it directly on, let's say, Storybook, and not creating your like hacky pages or not starting using it basically in your full migrated page because it's not done yet. So you can work in small bites, small chunks of smaller components, and again, just because it's like an isolated environment, and you can test very small, very specific parts.
Yeah, it's really good. But my favorite tool, it's like Percy. It's crazy. Like,
And designers love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's but Percy is really like it's like for me it's like a no-brainer on like a project. If you are like working in like big company and you are like updating code, to check if you have visual regression at the end and to be alerted if you have visual regression, it's like what a front-end developer wants at the end. So, and also accessibility, there is like a super good plugin about it. But it's not like the subject in all companies. So that's all for me.
any more questions, guys?
Yeah.
Do you think in small projects it might be a little bit overkill, and Vue DevTools it's a good alternative, like to edit props and small stuff?
To use
All the functionality of stories.
No, because like for example, I am like in Nilos, I am like the only one like as front-end developer, and when I'm like iterating of the design, every time like the designer asks me, can I see the result and can I see how to interact with it and stuff like that, and if you even like to make a deploy on Netlify or other provider of deploying platform, at the end it's hard, it's painful. With like Storybook, you just need to build to like copy file on like S3 bucket that you serve in static, and at the end it's like it took like 1 minute to build and half of a minute to deploy, and like all your designer team and project team can interact already with the component. And also for me on my side, I think it's like avoid to make like implementation mistake. To avoid like putting too much logic, because you take your component, you put it like in all your interface, and after even like maybe the naming of the variable, it will be, I don't have the word in English, but it will be like more too much like business oriented. At the end, like a component, if you are creating like a design system or something like that, you could say like you will use your component in your next platform. It must be agnostic of what you are doing right now. So I think it's like it's super important to have it at the beginning. After it depends if you are already working with like a design team and product team. It doesn't cost a lot to plug it and to write story. If you are using Histoire, you write story like in 20 seconds, or even Storybook. So it's the end it's the same.
It's also very good to test the UI.
Yeah.
You can play with the parameters and to see if everything is still working and you didn't break everything.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah, no, it's for me it was a brain changer in my day-to-day development, and I'm more confident when I'm deploying stuff in production. So maybe it's a case when you're developing. And I don't have unit test the front end, so it's my unit test. At the end, it's like cool to have.
Kevin, thank you very much.
With pleasure.